If you're buying or selling real estate, you may enter into what is known as a post-settlement occupancy agreement, more commonly known as the seller rent back. Gives the seller more time to pack up. Maybe they're waiting to close on the purchase of their next home. Maybe they're having a home built. Whatever the reason is, these are very common. You want to make sure you understand the terms of these agreements. These agreements can vary based on location of the property. I want to share with you my notes on the agreement used by the Maryland Association of Realtors. So there's a term of occupancy, typically a max of 60 days, because a home buyer financing a purchase, they sign a document at closing stating they'll move in within 60 days. As far as consideration paid, this could be zero. Many home buyers offer a free seller rent back. But if there is consideration paid, it's paid on a per diem basis. So the total monthly payment is multiplied by 12, divided by 365 for that per diem rate. And that per diem rate is multiplied by however many days you will be staying at the property post-settlement. Now, there's typically an escrow deposit that's held, security deposit, for deficiencies. And you as a seller, during your time post-settlement that you occupy the property, you're required to maintain the property. That property has to be turned over to the buyer in the same condition agreed upon in the contract of sale. So if everything worked and there was no damage to the property, it needs to be the same way. During your time there, post-settlement, as a seller, you'll continue to pay utilities. And during your time there, post-settlement, the buyer still has access to the property during reasonable hours and with notice to you, unless there's in a case of emergency. Now, home buyers, you have a right to inspect the property on an agreed upon date prior to your move-in. And you need to notify the seller of any deficiencies within 5 days of that inspection. If you do, you can request release of that security deposit for those deficiencies. Sellers, if that deposit will not cover those deficiencies in full, you agree to reimburse the buyer for the difference immediately. Now, it's important to point out here that there's no typical tenant-landlord relationship established as you would find with a standard lease. So any of the rules that apply with tenant-landlord relationships do not apply here. The last detail I want to share with you is about insurance. Both buyer and seller need to have their own policies. Of course, the buyer is setting up a homeowner's insurance policy when they're purchasing the property. You can inquire about a house sharing or short-term rental endorsement for your policy. Sellers, you will essentially have a renter's policy. You need protection for your possessions. You still need to have that liability protection. And with these agreements, you need to add the buyer as a loss payee. The seller agrees to hold the buyer harmless for any and all claims unless it's due to the buyer's negligence. So again, make sure you understand the terms of these agreements. Make sure you follow the terms of the agreements. Ask questions. And if you want to connect with me, click on the link tree in my bio or description below.